Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a bit of a lower quality Nilla video. And I know what you're thinking, right? Damn, how much lower quality can these videos get? And you're about to see another level. Now, if the thumbnail didn't imply already the thumbnail and the title didn't imply what happened, basically I lied again. And I know I'm a very bad person. I lie all the time. It's quite sad actually. But here I am, lying to you again and needing to justify myself a further time. Now, I had said in the last video that after I made my transactions, that was probably going to be it. I was probably just going to stick with that team and roll with those guys for the rest of the season. And that was true. Actually, that was probably the most true thing I ever said in my life. Now, there's a bit of a story. So if you have free time or you just enjoy listening to the sound of my relaxing, soothing voice, go ahead and just kick back, grab some snacks, put on something, put some schoolwork or whatever, and listen to me tell this tale. So basically, I'm feeling pretty good, right? I'm coming off of I think a win that I may or may not have deserved. We don't get into that, but I'm 3-1. And I'm sitting kind of in a good position right now with my team. I'm kind of getting to know it. I kind of like it a bit more. And recently, there's kind of this thing going on, basically where Prison's team sucks, and this is just a fact of life. And I don't think me saying it would get Prison upset because he probably hates it more than I do because I don't have to build with it, right? So these last few weeks, Prison has somehow managed to be 2-1, which is pretty impressive with this team. It's pretty bad. And basically, he's been trying to rework it for a while now. And trades are a very good way to do that. So basically, he DMs me last night out of the blue. I actually was taking a nap, so I woke up to this. This is the first message I ever did see after I woke up. And he just straight up says, where is it? Yeah, he goes, hear me out, give me Mons. And I was like, well, I'm intrigued. He needs Mons, I have Mons, that's crazy, I can give him Mons. So then we kind of talk a little bit, and then he goes, nah, give me Tran. And I was like, okay, well, I don't want to give up my Tran, right? Like Tran is pretty pog champ. Like, he's only come once, but he came and he did his job, right? But eventually one thing led to another. And I actually DM'd a group chat I'm in. I was like, hey, Prison wants to trade with me. If you guys want anything, well, DM him or tell me and we can try like work this out. And Orange is looking at it, and Orange doesn't really love his team, I think. He's like, man, I want whatever. So I was like, okay, cool, we can try to get you that. He wanted Salazzle. Salazzle tempted him. So I was like, alright, well, we can get you Salazzle. And he's like, well, yeah, but Salazzle's cool, but I have Nidoking, right? Nidoking's bad. Actually, Nidoking's not bad, but it's bad with Salazzle, right? So he's like, I want the Salazzle and the Runa Regis. And I was like, okay, well, no, right? Like, no. Actually, that's not true. Anyway, I'm kind of looking around, and I'm like, okay, well, I can give him my Heatran, and I can get the Salazzle and the Runa Regis, and I could just, like, drop them or something, or give them to Orange or whatever, and then try to fix my team. However, there are now problems, where one of them is that I only have one free agent move left after I, trolled and I got all my free agents last time I lied. So here I am, in quite the predicament, where I have a friend who needs Mons. I can give him Mons. Specifically, the only thing that I really wanted to part ways with was Heatran. Or not wanted to, that was the only thing that I would, like, reasonably give up. So I'm like, okay, well, I can give you the Tran. So we strike a deal. After a very long deliberation, we strike a deal. And I give him the Tran. And I gave him a lot of things. So I give him Heatran, Tangela, and Frogadier. Shout out to Junpei being on the team to die once. I mean, yeah, it is what it is. Some people are written preconceived. I don't mean that. He was like my favorite. I'm sad. Anyway, so I get rid of those three, and I get Salazzle, Runa Regis, and the goat Thwackey. And you might say, well, that's not an even trade at all. This actually sucks for you. And I'd be, yeah, that's true. It actually does suck for me. I'm not sure why I did it. And but orange wants these two, so now I have a little bit of leverage, right? And I'm kind of hyping this up, but this was actually predetermined before I even made my first trade. But basically, if orange wants this Salazzle, two things need to happen. Sorry, I have no idea. This is like the fourth time I've like been encountered with COVID. I never got it a single time, but I've always gotten sick after I knew I was in contact with it. I think it's a mental thing. I think I know I got in contact, and then I get sick like subconsciously because I don't know. Anyway, so I have this leverage here, and he wants these two guys. But in order for him to have Salazzle, he two things need to happen. First, Nidoking needs to get out of the way because Nidoking is just clashing too much with Salazzle, and it's a bad ground to pair with Salazzle. So he needs this Runerigus. He needs these two together. Additionally, what needs to happen is his Victini needs to get out of there because he needs money. And so he's like, okay. And I said, well, you know what? Give me your Victini. And he's like, yeah, I'll give you my Victini. So I end up trading away the Salazzle and the Runerigus before I even get to name them. And I get Victini. And so now I'm like, well, damn, like, look at this. Right? I have Victini. And just so we're all aware of my offensive core here, it's Hoopa Unbound, Lycanroc Dusk, Victini, Garchomp. Right? With, like, Crobat. And so now I'm kind of feeling it. Like, dang, this is a lot of power. My team is quite strong. And then I have the Goat Thwacky. But I happen to notice another problem. And this is actually a pretty big problem that I noticed after everything was done. And I was like, hey, I traded my fire. Like, this is true. I did trade my fire. But I also don't have a steel, which is arguably more important. Actually, not even arguably, objectively way more important than a fire. And so I think I'm sitting down. I'm like, I might have just homied away my steel. And so I'm kind of looking through things, and I'm like, okay, well, the only thing that's expendable on my team now is Rotom Frost. So I unfortunately had to drop Rotom Frost. That gave me 6 points. I had an extra 3 points in the bank that I could spend, which gave me a total of 9, which is 1 point shy of Registeel. So if I could have gotten Registeel, I would have gotten Registeel, like in a heartbeat. However, that is not the case. After many well, it wasn't that many hours. After a while of deliberation, I ended up settling on 3 options. Number 1 was Escavalier. Number 2 was Fortress. And number 3 was Magneton. And there were different reasons why. Escavalier is kind of bad. I mean, it's not bad. It does a very solid job within my team. It would have, at least. The main problem is I needed somebody to switch into fairies that also didn't make me super weak to ground. Or at least that's what I wanted. Because my team is kind of a little ground weak, even though we do have Thwacky the goat. It's a little ground weak. And Escavalier and Fortress both did that. Escavalier gives me a bit more power and more creativity, but Fortress is just good, right? Fortress has removal, which is something I'm trading away with the, obviously with the Rotom. And so I was like, all right, well, this will give me back Spikes, Rocks, and removal, and it's pretty good. And then finally I have Magneton, which is pretty interesting. I'm not gonna lie, I like Magneton a lot. Actually, that's not true. I like Magnezone a lot, but Magneton is practically the same thing. It's the Walmart version, and I love Walmart. And its move pool is pretty much the same. Its attack stat is a bit less, but not too big of a deal. Additionally, it can hold a Violite, and this does do a pretty good job of switching into fairies. Better than Fortress, at least. Because Moonblast will still be hitting this thing for quite a bit, and I don't have recovery. And Escavalier obviously takes it better than the both, but it can't hold the Violate, so which makes Magneton very interesting. And so I asked around. I asked for some opinions, and I got some opinions. I got someone wanted like Fortress better, a couple like Magneton, but I think the general verdict was that Escavalier was bad. It wasn't bad, but it also just wasn't good. So I was like, okay, but we don't want Escavalier. So it's between these two. And to finally decide, I DM Prison. because he's the one that got me into this mess. And I DM him and I just said, hey, do I survive the season with 2 forms of removal? And he says, that's 2 more forms of removal than you need. And I said, okay, well, I obviously asked the wrong person for advice. And then I'm kind of just going through things. And I got pinged. Oh, never mind, I'm going to ignore it. And eventually, basically, after talking things through, I end up deciding that I'm going to go with Magneton. So this is a pretty interesting set of circumstances. Basically, what happened is we lost Heatran. Basically, we lost Heatran, Frogadier, and Tangela, and we picked up these 3. Which is not the worst. It's not the worst. It's pretty good. And dare I say, people are going to have a hard time switching into Victini and Hoopa Unbound. Obviously, both of those are known to click their button and take their kill. And then you have, stuff like Garchomp and Crobat and Lycanroc on top of that. And it's not even like my team is that defensively weak. Chomp is pretty bulky in and of itself. Clefable is a defensive staple. Blastoise is an Unmon. Crobat's pretty bulky. And so, we have defensive options. And obviously the team isn't going to stall out anything. But it can, defensively stick around for quite a bit. So, yeah, I just want to go over these trades. This will be active starting week 5, which means there will be no more games with Heatran, Tangela, or Frogadier. Not that there were any games with Frogadier to begin with yet, but, anyway, yeah, let's do the cool thing now. Let's go over the names. So the name for Thwackey is going to be Toto. I don't need to explain why, really. If you look at Toto, I'm not going to Google him, but if you look at Toto, pretty much the same energy, same vibes, right? He comes in, clicks a button, kills you, right? Go Thwackey. Next for Victini, I was pretty pumped for this name, actually. So you see these little wings here. As soon as I knew I was going to get my grubby little fingers on this guy, I knew I wanted to name her Momo, after the little witch girl, because she was pretty cool, and she kind of flies around and she's blonde, right? Yeah, she's blonde, and she has blue eyes. So that was Poggers. I was really happy about that. And obviously, I don't really need to go over these mons too much, right? Toto's very one-dimensional. It also plays off Magneton really well. It's pretty much the big core, what is called Rillaboom and Magnezone, just like Baby. And then Momo here, very strong mon, versatile in both ways, has an extensive move pool on both fronts. Pretty much the same thing as Hoopa, just a little weaker and faster. Pretty good priority. Also gives me another Calm Mind setup mon. It's really cool. It gives me more momentum with U-turn. A fire that can hit waters is amazing, as you guys probably already know. Future Sight, Glaciate. So really, really cool stuff here to play with, and it lets me be pretty creative with my things as well. Great utility, additionally. And then finally we have Magneton, which I named Grade 4 because Grade 4 because I couldn't think of any characters to name it after. But yeah, that is going to be it for me today. Goodbye, God bless, and have a great day.